What if I told you that one of the greatest military secrets of Rome wasn't sword shields or battle tactics? It was bathing. After marching for days beneath a brutal sun, covered in sweat dust and exhaustion, most people think of one thing first: rest. Not food, not glory. Just relief. To strip off the weight, wash the grime away, and feel human again. Now imagine being a Roman soldier. You've marched for hours, armor cutting into your shoulders, sand stuck to your skin, sweat drying into salt. Yet clean water is scarce. In some lands, even drinking water is difficult to find. A proper wash should have been impossible. But Rome refused to accept that. Because to the Romans, cleansing was never just comfort. It was survival. It was discipline. It was military strategy. So how did an empire fighting across deserts, forests, mountains, and hostile frontiers manage to keep tens of thousands of soldiers clean? And why did Rome treat something as simple as washing like a weapon of war? The Roman army's obsession with hygiene was not emotional or luxurious. It was operational. An army living shoulder to shoulder, sharing cooking areas, sleeping 8 men inside one tent, marching for months without pause, created the perfect environment for disease. If dirt, waste, and infection spread through camp, men could die before the enemy ever arrived. Rome understood a brutal truth: more soldiers could be lost to sickness than to battle. That is why cleanliness became policy. Roman military writer Vegetius, whose manuals preserved centuries of battlefield wisdom, warned commanders to protect water supplies, prevent spoiled food, and stop camps from becoming filthy. He placed hygiene in the same category as training, weapons care, and discipline. Not comfort, combat readiness. A commander who allowed sickness through neglect was not unlucky. He was incompetent. Archaeology proves this mindset. Roman forts across the empire reveal carefully engineered latrines, with flowing water channels, organized waste systems, seat rows, and drainage designs far ahead of their time. These were not random pits. They were infrastructure. And then there were the bathhouses at nearly every permanent Roman military fort. Bathhouses were built beside granaries, headquarters buildings, and defensive walls. They were considered just as necessary as food storage or command centers. That tells you everything. Rome believed a clean soldier was as important as a fed soldier. Inside these military bathhouses, known as balneum, soldiers followed a structured routine. There was a changing room, a cold room with plunge pools, a warm chamber to prepare the body, and a hot room where the real cleansing happened. Underneath the floors ran the hypocaust system, one of Rome's most advanced heating technologies. Hot air from furnaces circulated below the rooms, warming stone floors and walls. This required few labor engineers and constant maintenance. Rome paid that price willingly because it worked. Roman soldiers did not clean themselves with soap, the way many imagine. Their main tool was the strigil, a curved metal scraper. Oil was rubbed onto the skin. Heat opened the pores, sweat loosened dirt. Then the mixture of oil, grime, and sweat was scraped away. Simple, efficient, effective, and used by everyone, from ordinary legionaries to commanding officers. But the bathhouse served another purpose, something less visible. Inside the steam and heat, rank barriers softened. Officers and soldiers shared the same rooms, same routines, same vulnerability. Conversations happened there. That would never happen on parade grounds. Tension eased. Relationships strengthened. Morale recovered. Rome may not have described it in modern terms, but they understood it perfectly. A united army fights harder. Bathing usually happened in the late afternoon, after duties ended, and before the evening meal. This was deliberate. The dirt of the day was removed before food and sleep. The body relaxed. The mind reset. Yesterday ended. Tomorrow became possible. The famous Vindolanda tablets from Roman Britain casually mention soldiers going to the bathhouse, meeting there, or requesting oil. That matters, because casual references reveal routine life. Bathing was normal. Expected, essential, but permanent forts were the easy version. Campaign life was another story. A Roman army on the march had no heated floors, no plunge pools, no masonry bathhouses, only what could be carried, built, or found. So Rome adapted whenever possible. Marching camps were placed near rivers or streams. Water was needed for drinking, cooking, animals, and washing. Soldiers entered cold rivers after brutal marches, scrubbing away sweat and road dust. Was it luxurious? No. Was it effective? Yes, and that was enough. Imagine washing in an icy German river in October, or a hot seasonal stream deep inside Syria in August. Nothing like the comfort of a fort bathhouse. Yet it still restored the body, and Rome turned even this into organized procedure. Bathing halts were supervised. Centurions controlled the sequence. Men washed downstream, while clean drinking water was protected upstream. Soldiers were expected to clean themselves, not simply play in the water. Even washing became discipline. Even relief became order. Roman soldiers also carried personal hygiene tools into campaign zones. Oil and strigils traveled with them. If weather was cold, tents with braziers could be warmed enough. For makeshift cleansing, 2 soldiers scraping each other's backs. In a heated tent may sound ordinary, but it was field sanitation, a reduced version of the fort system, still effective, still Roman. For longer campaigns, temporary bath facilities were built, heated tents, timber rooms, fire-warmed stones, barrels or tubs filled with heated water, not luxurious structures, but practical ones. The Roman army refused to rely only on improvisation. If soldiers stayed somewhere long enough, bathing infrastructure appeared. Sieges that lasted months or years allowed even more advanced field baths. At places like Jerusalem and Masada, Roman camps evolved into semi-permanent settlements, with facilities beyond the basics, because long wars required long-term hygiene. And then nature sometimes helped. Natural hot springs across Britain, the Rhine frontier, the Danube lands, Anatolia, and the Near East became ready-made bathhouses. Warm mineral water required no furnace, and no fuel for tired soldiers. These springs were priceless, the closest thing to bringing Rome with them. The benefits were real: skin infections, fungal problems, soreness, and irritation were common risks for men living in armor sweat mud and crowded camps. Roman medical writers recommended regular washing, not as treatment, but prevention. Stop disease before it starts. Warm bathing in cold climates also restored circulation, loosened stiff limbs, and revived numb hands and frozen feet. That wasn't luxury, that was returning a soldier to combat condition. And then came the invisible benefit: mental recovery. For 1 hour, armor was removed, weapons set aside, orders paused, bodies warmed, skin cleaned, stress lifted. The man leaving the bath was not a different soldier, but he was a reset soldier, and that mattered more than many weapons did. The Vindolanda tablets again give the most human evidence. Soldiers requested more oil. Friends arranged meetings at the bathhouse. Men mentioned it casually, the same way modern people mention going home after work. That means one thing: they valued it deeply, not as a pleasure, as a necessity. The Roman military bathing system was never about pampering troops. It was about preserving them. A clean soldier stayed healthier, marched longer, recovered faster, fought harder. That is why forts had bathhouses. Campaign camps built temporary baths, and individual soldiers carried cleaning tools beside their weapons. Nothing in Rome's system existed by accident. Everything that worked was kept. Everything useful became standard. If a man marched all day and could properly clean himself at night, he could rise tomorrow and do it again. That was the real purpose: endurance, consistency, empire. So in Rome, taking a shower was never a reward. It was how the machine kept moving. Now think about it. If you were a soldier back then, how unbearable would life become? If you could never wash whenever you need,